you guys? Welcome back to Lily Reads. Okay, in today's video, we are going to be doing a readathon. I love a good readathon. Will this be my third year doing Summerween? I believe it is my third year doing Summerween. Our first Summerween was not a good Summerween as far as quality of book. So we read The Club and we read Magpie. Though I love both of these covers, the books were flops. Then the next year, last year, we had a successful one. We read Fever Dream, which I liked. We read The Swap, which I liked. And we read The Couple at Table 6, which I liked. And then I think we even read A Good Marriage. We bit off a lot and we definitely chewed it. And I enjoyed all of those books, I think, well enough. So for this Summerween, I was like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Now, I'm going to tell you my failed idea. I actually had the failed idea of reading Riley Sager. Riley Sager just came out with a new book, and I still have 2 Riley Sager books on my bookshelf that I have not read, which is problematic because I am on record saying I have not greatly enjoyed a single Riley Sager book. Even though I think at this point I've read all of them except 2. And so I thought about doing a Riley Sager vlog where I read the last 2 Riley Sager books I haven't read. And then if I like one of them, I will go get his newest book. But something about that felt cheap because I don't think Riley Sager deserves my money. So I was just like, no, I'm not going to do it. And then I remembered that I did that reading sequels vlog. And in that reading sequels vlog, I had a bunch of thrillers from the library. And I was just like, I can read all the thrillers I got from the library. We can, kill a bunch of birds with a bunch of stones. We can do the Summerween. We can read new thrillers. We can support the library. We can do so many things if I do this idea. So that's what I did. So if you don't know, we're doing Summerween, by the way. Summerween is a readathon that is put on by Gabby Reads. Basically, for a week, we read horror thriller in the middle of the summer. And we do some prompts. There's about 5 prompts this year, which we need to talk about because that's going to matter as we talk about these books. So anyways, I'm going to be ambitious. I'm going to read 4 length thrillers. No novellas, no nothing. I'm going to read 4 full-length thrillers because I feel like I can do it. I feel like if I just put my mind to it, I can do it. So let's get to the prompts. The prompts. The first thing we have is to read a thriller in the dark. I always do that. I always have a good time doing that. We're going to get that one done. What is the next one? It's over here. Read a thriller or horror. All of these are thrillers. All of these are thrillers. Check. So we already got 2 I can do. And then the third one is read a book with the night sky. The next one after that is read a book with 5 words in the title. And last one is read a book during the summer. I believe we can cross off all of those except about the summer. I will not know until I read these books when they take place. So, we'll see. Let's start and talk about what we're going to be reading. So the first thing I have is You Know What You Did by K.T. Junyin. Okay, first of all, first thing we're checking off. This has 5 words in the title. So we're already good there. Boom. I am so happy to be doing this vlog particularly because I am so bad at reading new thrillers. I usually read thrillers a year, 2 years late because I have kind of a rule that I don't like to buy thrillers full price. So like, it's hard for me to get my hands on new thrillers. And thrillers, I guess it's because of where I live. I live in a more suburban area. Baby, the housewives love them a good thriller. And so those are the first things that get checked out of the library. I'm surprised I was able to get these 4. So it's kind of hard for me to just get my hands on new thrillers without purchasing them myself. So anyways, You Know What You Did is what we're going to read, and we're taking care of reading a book with 5 words in the title. Yes, we are. The next thing we have is B.A. Paris, The Guest. I have read, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have read 6 B.A. Paris books. I don't necessarily love any of them, but yet B.A. Paris is that author I keep picking up books from. And so B.A. Paris has come out with another one, and I'm here to read the next one. This one seems like a lot of fun. I love a little book about a mysterious house guest. It's people living in a house and things are weird. So I'm going to read this one. This doesn't do anything for any prompt, so maybe we'll read this in the dark or something. We'll see. The next thing we have is No One Can Know by Kate Alice Marshall. This author wrote What Lies in the Woods. I read that last month or 2 months ago and enjoyed it well enough. And so we have this one. Now this does take care of a prompt because let's zoom in, friends. This, sorry, there's a window in front of me. Let's see. Y'all see that night sky? Y'all see that night sky? Yeah, this takes care of the night sky prompt. So we already have 5 words done. We already have night sky. We're already reading a thriller. And then we can read in the dark. And so the only thing we have left is to read a book that takes place in summer. I don't know if any of these take place in summer, but I'm going to take a guess that one of these books got to take place between the months of like June to August. Like some of them have to, but I don't think it's The Professor, considering it's called The Professor. Nope, it already says on a spring afternoon. This ain't gonna do it, but I want to read The Professor. I want to read The Professor really, really badly, and so I'm going to read The Professor. And those are the books that we are going to be reading over the next week. We are going to have some fun. We're going to do some book shopping. We're going to make some bread. We're just going to have us a week. This really won't feel any different than any other vlog that takes place during a week, except for the fact there are some prompts. But I guess all the books are going to be like thriller and mystery. So yeah. That's what we're going to do. I will see you guys when it's time to start reading, okay? Peace. Hello, you guys. I am about to make a pot roast. I have not made a pot roast this entire summer because I guess pot roast isn't like summer food. But since we are doing SUMMERWEEN, and SUMMERWEEN is about doing all things fall in the dead of summer, I decided I'm going to make a pot roast today. So I got my roast, I got my beef stock, I got my thyme, my rosemary, my garlic, my onion, and I am just going to start this SUMMERWEEN by making a pot roast. I have not started reading The Guest yet, so there are no updates on that, but next time I see you, I will give you some initial thoughts on The Guest. But yeah, we're going to just do all types of like cozy things this week. Like I said, we're going to make a pot roast. I want to make some bread. I want to do some puzzles. I'm thinking about getting into puzzling as a hobby. So I want to do some puzzles. We're going to do some Halloween shopping, which is crazy, but we are, because I actually need to do some Halloween shopping. We're going to do some of that. But yeah, we're going to start by me making this pot roast. So anyway, I just wanted to come and tell you how it's going. You can see back there it's 5 o'clock. So I kind of have to hurry up and get this going if I want to eat it by like 9 o'clock. I eat late dinner. I know it's problematic. I eat a late dinner. But anyways, I'm going to get started. And yeah, peace. guys, we are back to actually talk about some books. So of course it is Summerween. We are doing all things thriller. I have been reading B.A. Paris, The Guest. Now we have to discuss what my relationship is with B.A. Paris. B.A. Paris is an author that I will read anything they put out. Yet, I have not given this author 5 stars ever. It is actually rare for me to even give this author 4 stars. These are the books I've read from B.A. Paris. You have Behind Closed Doors, which is B.A. Paris' most famous book. Then you have The Breakdown. Then you have The Dilemma. And then you have The Therapist. Then you have The Survivor, or something that came out last year. And then there's one other book I've read from B.A. Paris. All of these books are the same in some ways, different than others. The main conflict is always different. So like in The Breakdown, there was a car that broke down. In The Survivor or something, there was this woman who was taken by a terrorist. In The Dilemma, there was this dilemma between this married couple about telling each other the truth about something. In The Therapist, there was this woman who had a therapist and somebody was haunting her. So like I said, and then in The Breakdown, it was about this woman in an abusive relationship. So like everything is different about B.A. Paris. But the thing that's the same about B.A. Paris is, number one, you're always going to be following a woman. I'm kind of lying because there's one story about this guy and his ex that's dead, his ex-wife that's dead. That's the one I don't remember. I'll put it up on the screen. That's the book I forgot the name of. So I'm actually lying. It's not always about a girl. But anyway, most of the time you are following suburban, British couples. Like you're in the middle of suburbia. B.A. Paris is the domestic thriller queen. Like you're going to get some domestic type of stuff. And the reason why I keep saying that I always pick up B.A. Paris books is because there is something so interesting about the way B.A. Paris writes books to me. Some people will find it boring, but to me, she is able to give you a cast of characters. Actually, not even necessarily a cast of characters. Sometimes just 1 or 2 characters, and they all just are so sketchy. They're all sketchy in the most mundane ways. They're keeping the stupidest lies away from each other, but they all have their reasons, and to me, she just knows how to cook up the perfect storm. My problem is, I be in these storms, and then when I get to the other side of it, I'm just like, did I have fun? Was it worth all the topsy and the turvy? Most of the time, no. But I did. I was happy I was there. And The Guest is no different. The Guest starts off, as many B.A. Paris books start off with, like, something is happening. This is something that happens in thrillers a lot, where you get like the end of the story at the beginning of the story. So there's something that's going to happen, and then you go back in time to figure out what led to that point. So in this one, it's an explosion. We have these 2 couples. They are having champagne, and they're talking about people who we do not know. And an explosion happens, and then one woman in the couple starts crying, and then we go back 4 months. So in this, we are following Gabriel and Iris. Gabriel and Iris are coming back from vacation. When they get back from vacation, one of their friends named Lori has been sleeping in their house while they've been on vacation. And they're just like, what are you doing here, Lori? And she said, I got some news for y'all. So y'all know my husband Pierre has fathered a love child. He had an affair 7 years ago, and he is the father of a child. We are having marriage issues. Can I stay with you? And so that kind of starts the story, because quickly Iris and Gabriel start to question things about Lori. They start to question the story. Gabriel more than Iris is questioning it. Iris is the person whose head we're in the most, because she's just, she's really like our main driving character. Well, one day we get Gabriel and Iris talking, and Gabriel lets it be known that he found an 18-year-old boy dead, well, almost dead. He reported it to the police, and then the police came, and then he died at the scene. And before the little boy died, I think his name is Charlie, he left a note for his mom, Maggie. The thing is, Gabriel knows this boy. This boy grew up with his daughter, Beth. And so he's known this boy since he was little, and he knows the little boy's mom, Maggie. She's in the story. That's just something that's over to the side. We do end up being in like Gabriel's head as well. And Gabriel got some secrets too that, you know, that's on the table. And so then we have Iris and Lori. Lori keeps staying with them. She's still in the house. She don't want to call her husband. Her husband ain't trying to call her. Gabriel's trying to call the husband. But the husband, Pierre, picked up one time for Gabriel and rushed him off the phone. So we have Pierre somewhere in there being sketchy as hell. Gabriel's the only person really who's like questioning everything going on between Lori and Pierre. Lori is starting to do weird stuff to Iris. Like she's in Iris's clothes. Some of the stories she's telling don't make sense with what she was doing with her day. So Iris is starting to question Lori a little bit, but not really about the kid. She's questioning her about like, what are you doing throughout the day? The biggest thing, I think the biggest story that has happened that we're following, and then I'm going to let y'all go on this one, is that there's this house. So Iris is just like, I don't know what she really do, but she's kind of like a home renovator, kind of. She's a designer, whatever. There was this house she was thinking about buying with her husband, Gabriel, but they realized like, it's too big. You'll probably love it too much. We'll have to move into it. We don't need to be moving into a big house at our big age. So she's just like, I'm not going to buy the house. But she drives by the house one day just to see who moved into it. And there's this pregnant woman. And the pregnant woman invites her to come into the house because she's like, I see you staring. Come have some tea. Because, you know, they British. Let's have some tea. So they have some tea, and she realizes that this woman is married to a man that is 20 years older than her. And, you know, they're going to start hanging out. And we find out that explosion that happened in the beginning, they're the couple. There's a gardener in here as well. The only reason why I'm telling you that there's a gardener in here, so that couple with the pregnancy, they have a gardener. The only reason that's on the table is because that's in the synopsis. If that wasn't in the synopsis, I actually wouldn't even think about it that often, but clearly that matters because it's in the synopsis. So they have a gardener, and now that gardener is working for Iris and Gabriel because he said he needed work, and so they're giving him work. Lori has decided that her name is Esme. The pregnant woman's name is Esme. Lori has decided she doesn't want to be around Esme because Lori wants to have a child herself, but she's going through menopause, and so she don't want to be around them. So they're not becoming this big friend group, Esme, Lori, and Iris, because Lori don't want nothing to do with it. And those are our players on the board. You might think, Kenya, did you just spoil half the book? No, I'm just telling you the players on the board. I didn't tell you. There's more information I have now. Like, I know what's going on between Gabriel and Maggie and Charles. I know what's going on with Laura. I know more than I'm telling you. But I'm not going to divulge. These are just all of our players on the board. But I am going to say, yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's giving me everything you come to a B.A. Paris book for. So if you don't usually like B.A. Paris books, you ain't gonna like this. But like, it's giving me what I come to a B.A. Paris book for. But that does not mean like it's gonna get like 4 or 5 stars, because that never happens with me in B.A. Paris. But I do have fun on the ride. Anyways, I will come when I'm done, and we will open up some book of the month books. I have book of the month books. I think I have 2. Well, I know I have 1. I might have 1 in my mailbox, so we'll at least open up 1 book of the month book, okay? And I will tell you my final thoughts on the guest. Hello, you guys. I am here to come give my final thoughts on The Guest by B.E. Paris. Rarely do I do this where I want to talk about spoilers in a book that is in a video that's not a spoiler vlog, but that changes today. I am going to come to you guys, the people who don't want spoilers for this book. I am going to say that I am utterly confused on what my rating should be of this book. I enjoyed reading this book all the way through. I was highly invested, and this is one of the rare moments in reading a thriller for me where I was trying to make the pieces fit, trying to crack the code of what was going on, and I was stumped until the end. I had no clue what direction this book was going to go in, but this book does something at the end that I'm about to talk about in the spoilers that, I don't know if I can get on board with it. I don't know if I can fully wrap my head around it. So let me go into spoilers. Spoiler time. Let's go. So the ending of this book, we literally get almost a 20-page monologue of the main woman character, Iris, explaining that she killed everybody in this book. She killed Gabriel. She killed, what's her name? Lori. No, yeah, she killed Lori. She killed Joseph. And would have killed anybody else if she had to. And the reason why she did it is because there is this central lie that her daughter Beth was her husband's daughter, but really Pierre. She didn't kill Gabriel. She killed Pierre. I'm sorry. She killed Pierre because he was her daughter's baby daddy. And so she wanted to keep that lie, and people were encroaching on her lie. The gardener is our red herring. The gardener is our big red herring. He truly has nothing to do with this story, even though he's who you should be thinking is the suspicious person. Here's where my thoughts come in. The ending could have worked if it wasn't given to us in a villainous monologue. If maybe a police officer, a detective was in this story and they uncovered all of what Iris was doing, it could work because I enjoyed everything is here. B.A. Paris' entire timeline, I would have to think about it a little more, but I think it checks out. So much so that the things that Iris is telling us at the end that happened, there were some moments in the book where I was like, that's interesting. That's interesting. Like Beth being in the story altogether. I was wondering why the fuck Beth was here, and that makes sense. The love child, that makes sense. There were times where Iris would leave and then come back, and you're just supposed to take it for what it is that she's doing that. It works. Everything here works. And then having the couple who's having a child, having the couple that's having a child, and the gardener, that's the perfect red herring. They truly don't have anything to do with the story. They seem more mysterious than they are. So you as the reader are spending so much time focusing on them when Iris is the real weirdo. And that works. It all works. I want to give this book 4 stars. It works. I just don't like it. You guys, it's a long villainous monologue. A long villainous monologue. And you just that's a little cheap. I just think I have to stand my ground that villainous monologues are cheap. Because they are. And it's cheap in here too. But I do like the idea of Iris covering up the fact that she has a love child. Because that's been there from the beginning. Gabriel tells Lori that she has a child on the way. And he has a mystery child who's an adult. And that's why Lori comes to live with them. And it all just checks out. It all just checks out. All of it makes sense. All of the webs. Iris is sketchy, but not fully sketchy. Gabriel questions Iris sometimes, but not enough. It all works, except for the villainous monologue. So that's why I had to spoil that. So I'm back from spoilers. People who didn't want to hear spoilers, I'm back. So with the ending being the way that it is, and me enjoying the entire ride, I can see there are people, I don't see how you can like Lisa Jules, None of This Is True, and not like this. I have a feeling most people aren't going to read this book probably. I haven't heard a lot of people talk about this book. But if they do, I'm curious to see how the general public's going to react to the ending of this. But you know what? I'm going to give it 3.75 stars. I'm going to give it 3.75 stars. I enjoyed it. Why does B.A. Paris do this to me? I told you guys in the last clip. B.A. Paris has this way of I'm interested in the whole story, and then the endings are so wonky. All of B.A. Paris's books kind of end in a very, mundane way. They never end with this big old, I was about to say explosion, but this book does actually end in an explosion. They never end in some big dramatic way. The books just, simmer off. They simmer off to a completion. And a lot of people don't like that, but I don't mind it. And this book is no different. It simmers off until the last 20 pages. And so I'm sitting here and I'm just I don't know. I'm truly confused, but I think I'm going to give it 3.75. Anyways, I told you guys we were going to open up Book of the Month books, but actually I haven't gone to my I haven't gone to my mailbox and gotten my book of the month book for July. So I'm literally ripping off my cuticle right now as I'm talking to you guys. Gross. But I am. Ew. Okay, I'm gonna have to cut that. Anyways, but I did get a pre-order in the mail. Let's see what it is, because I have no clue what it is. Pre-order. Let's open it up. We have fun. If you watch my mid-year freakout tag, you know that this is one of my most anticipated books of the year, and it's Elementary by Elise Bryant. This book is blurbed by Emily Henry, and you want to know something? I'm gonna say something. Emily Henry gets a hard time because Emily Henry is very, very successful. Emily Henry has all of her books being turned into theatrical productions. But I am going to give Emily Henry some grace. Emily Henry will blurb smaller authors' books all of the time. Like, Emily, you will see Emily Henry, and she'll blurb Black authors, Elise Bryant. She'll blurb Black authors in a world where a lot of people, I don't think, extend a hand, can't even simply give you a blurb on the front of a book. Emily Henry does, and I've seen Emily Henry support other authors. Emily Henry doesn't just live in this bubble where she's the most successful contemporary author and the rest of y'all need to bow down. Emily Henry still communicates. She's still a part of the community, and so I don't want to kiss her ass too much, but there is something to say about that, you know, that Emily Henry does try to help out other authors, and I just think blurbing Elise Bryant book, like, that's a big deal, having an Emily Henry blurb on your book, and I just thought that was very, very nice of her. Anyways, I'm excited to read this. I want to read it really soon. It's a mystery novel. Is it giving? I'll probably read it this fall. Anyways, so those are my thoughts on the guests. We are going to move on to The Professor next. I've read about 50 pages of The Professor, and I have some thoughts on that too. Holy hell. But we'll get into that a little bit later. Okay. Hello, you guys. Do you guys like my little blanket? I just finished reading up to page like 100 and something of The Professor, and I wanted to come and discuss this book with you guys by Laura Nassette, because there is a lot of stuff going on in this book, and if I read any further, I just won't be able to tell you. So in this book, we are following 3 POVs. Yes, God, 3 POVs. We have a POV that takes place in the current day. It is simply just like the date and time. So it's the date, it is the day of the week, and it is the time. In this POV, we are following a detective. This detective has lost her job because she did something. We are not quite sure what she did. All we know is that there was a fatal accident, hit and run accident. There was a group of like people in a fraternity, and there was a fire. Someone blew up her house, and basically all of her house of cards went crumbling. She was not supposed to be investigating the person who blew up her house, and so even though her house was the one blown up, she was blamed for it. She was the one, like, everyone's just like, you're weird. So she lost her job. She ended up harming a lot of people in the process, whatever she was doing. The reason why I can't give you any more details than that is because we don't have any more details than that. So that is one timeline. That's really our main timeline. Then we have the timeline we get introduced to first. And it simply just says her. We are following the professor. Her timeline is the professor. We have this professor who is Turkish and German. And basically, she used to live in Germany, but she got offered a job at UGA, the University of Georgia in Athens. And she took it because she wanted to live a different life. And quickly, something happened. Something happened while she was a professor. Well, to figure out what happened, we get a third timeline, and that third timeline is called, this one is the one we don't really see the most, so I'm trying to find an example of it. I keep looking and it's kind of starting to make a liar out of me because I can't find it. But anyways, this timeline, I forgot what it's called. Him. It's just called Him. So we have the Him timeline. The Him timeline is a student of the professor. Now, how do all of these things come together? I'm about to tell you. So we get word that a student at UGA has committed suicide, and his name is Ethan. Ethan committed suicide, but they don't fully believe it was suicide, and they think a teacher could have been involved. There could have been some foul play. And so that's when we get our Professor Verena. Verena is Ethan's German professor. And basically, she gets taken in for questioning, but we don't know exactly why she would be taken in for questioning. No one really knows. No one knows really any information about the case. Well, one day, our detective, the present storyline, her mother comes home because now that she don't work at the police force no more, she living with her parents, she real downtrodden. Her mother comes home and says, hey, can you help prove that my friend did not kill her student, or she wasn't having a relationship with her student? And she's like, what's going on? What's that? What's tea? And that's when her mother gives it a tea on Ethan killing himself. The teacher might be accused of doing something, whether it be killing him, whether it just be a relationship, something he did. And she's like, me and Verena was friends. And like, I just don't think she did it. So since you ain't got nothing to do and you used to be a detective, how about you get your sleuth on? And so at first, Verena doesn't really know. She's just like, I mean, she could have did it. Like, what makes you so sure that this teacher didn't do all the stuff they said she did? But she's like, that's my friend. Why my friend do that? And so Verena looks into it. Now, Verena is dealing with her own skeletons. Like I told you, she done lost her badge. She ain't got no job. She living with her parents. She clearly did something. So she's not all good herself. But she just decides, okay, I'm going to try to clear the name of this Verena professor. And she quickly gets on her sleuthing, her detective job. And that's pretty much what's going on. Those are our 3 POVs. Now, in the past, I was telling you how we have a present timeline. The him and her timeline are in the past. We are seeing Verena as a new teacher. And we are seeing Ethan as her student. Ethan in his timelines is clearly obsessed with what we think is Verena. You have to keep in mind, I'm saying these things, but I don't take any of this stuff at face value. I don't take the detective storyline at face value. I don't take Verena's storyline at face value, nor do I take Ethan's. Like, somebody's lying. So one of these 3 timelines are not what they seem. So my opinion is. But yeah, so they're in the past. Ethan and Verena are in the past because Ethan's supposedly dead. I say supposedly, I think that's fair. He's dead. And then we have the professor. Now, there is a 4th member on the board that I could be reaching in this one. I think the mother, because the mother is also a professor. She's around the board. I wouldn't quite put her on the game. I wouldn't put her piece in the game yet, but she's somewhere around there. Let her get a little bit more in the story, and I'm putting her on the board. She doesn't seem all that cool. What else is happening? Everybody feels like somebody is following them. Everybody feels like somebody is following. That's why I was kind of like, Ethan is dead, maybe. But this book made a joke to the fact that Ethan's not dead. So the fact that they made a joke to that, I don't think they would do that because I think that was the author trying to be like, get that out of your head. Ethan is actually dead. Like, don't think that that's who's following them. So there's a mysterious piece on the board, but that mysterious piece could just be who him and her time. Like, we have no proof that those are actually, we know one is definitely Verena. She says her name, but do we know the other one is Ethan? Anyways, that's what's going on, but it is my thoughts. Let me give you my opinion on this. It's good. Like, I really want to know what happens, but the him and her timeline are really good. The detective timeline is being weighed down, by bad writing. Not even bad writing, it's wordy writing. Like, to make every POV seem different, the detective storyline, it's just everything she says has too much details, and then she repeats the same stuff over. So like, we'll come to a conclusion about something. So for example, she misses her job. She misses her job and has nothing to do. And so the author will explain that, like, okay, here's a paragraph, I miss my job. Then like a page later, she'll give you another paragraph about how much the detective misses her job. And it's just like, I got it. Like, let's move on to something else. It almost feels like we're trying to pad, you know, we're trying to pad the stats, trying to get some more pages in when we really don't need to, because there's an interesting story here, but I just feel like the detective storyline just be too worded. Like, she's way too introspective to the point where it's like annoying to read. But anyways, I'm enjoying it thus far. If you knew how hot it was in my house and I got on this blanket for the vibes, that's crazy. You guys, I still have to read a book at night in the dark. We're going to do that with our next book. I think I'm going to do my nails. Remember that cuticle I was peeling off? Yeah. By the way, I think we get to cross out something in our SUMMERWEEN board. This takes place during the summer. I'm pretty sure this takes place during the summer. I don't know if they necessarily directly bring up it's the summer, but they have to, because the daughter is thinking about going back to school, but she's deferring, and they ask her, is it too late or something? And it's like, why would you defer in the middle of, like, it's the summer for deferment? And then they're having like a cookout and stuff, and then people keep saying that it's hot. This takes place during the summer. I'm gonna make sure, but I'm pretty sure this takes place during the summer. I think so. So I'm counting this as taking place during the summer. So we actually are going to complete all of the prompts. Anyways, I'll talk to you guys later when we finish this book, and then we're gonna make some bread, okay? Anyways, peace. Guys, sorry, my coffee is in front of the camera. So as you saw last night, I completed the read in the dark prompt. I don't know why I take the read in the dark prompt so seriously. I know like most people just put on an audiobook and hit the lights, but not me. I'm going to turn on that flashlight and I'm going to read my book in the dark. And so I read and finished The Professor by Lauren Nassette. And you guys, I'm going to give this book 5 stars. Like, whoa. I don't know. You ever read a book and you think like maybe you're just reading this book at the perfect time. You have the perfect vibe and you're in the perfect mood. That is what I think this book is. Like, maybe in a couple years when I go back and revisit it, I won't be as over the moon about it. But in this moment, I had so much fun reading this book, and this book was able to accomplish what rarely happens when I read thrillers. I had no clue what the plot twist was until it was like obvious what was going on. I had no clue what was going on, and like a smarter person probably would figure it out. I'm not about to go out on a limb and say this is like the craziest plot twist in the world, because it's not. Like, you could figure it out, but I did it, and that's what made me enjoy the book so much. I was so in the story that I wasn't even looking for the clues. It's kind of just like B.A. Paris, The Guest. I enjoyed the entire ride. And I know in the last clip when I was talking about this book, I was saying how like, yeah, the writing is a little wordy, and it is, but I'm gonna give grace. I am going to give grace. I enjoyed everything about this. I think this was perfectly put together. It doesn't overstay its welcome. Every single character that is in here should be in here. Of course, you're reading a thriller, so some things are not plausible, but even the things that are not plausible are just like thriller implausible, not like just outlandish. I enjoyed it. I'm giving this book 5 out of 5 stars. So the issue with this is that all of these books are library books. I want to go get a copy of The Guest by B.A. Paris since I own every other B.A. Paris book. I need to go get a copy of The Guest by B.A. Paris. I'm for damn sure getting a copy of this book. And yeah, there's also some other library books I need to get a copy of. I need to get a copy of Harold the Ninth because I plan on rereading the entire Gideon series, the Latoum trilogy before. It's not a trilogy. There's going to be 4 books, right? I need to read Nona, but I want to reread Gideon and Harold before I read Nona. So I just have a lot of books that I got from the library that I actually want my own copy of. And this is added to the list. So I'm going to go see if any of the books are in the bargain book section of my bookstore, because that's when you usually will find thrillers and fantasy books. But anyways, I say all that to say this. Yeah, loved it. We are moving on to You Know What You Did. You know what you did. So I will see you guys in those clips. Peace. here to complain, you guys, and do my skincare routine for the night. I'm about to head to bed. But I have read half of You Know What You Did by KT Jen. And I have nothing nice to say about this book. I almost didn't even want to come and give halfway thoughts on this book because I literally have zero halfway thoughts that are positive when it comes to this book. And I'm like, is it necessary for me to come and give negative thoughts when I can also just give negative thoughts at the end? I can read it all and give you negative thoughts. I'm already off rip gonna tell you I don't think I would recommend this book to you because I just don't see who this would really interest. But let me tell you what's going on in this book. So in this book, we are following a woman named Annie. And Annie is the first generation, she's a first generation immigrant of parents from Thailand. I don't know why that fucked me up. But yeah, so her family is from Thailand. And basically she has a nice husband. They are very rich. Her husband is a trust fund kid, and he is a writer. He's won a Pulitzer Prize. He did some stuff over in Vietnam and he wrote about it, and you know, he won a Pulitzer, and they just live a very affluent life. But her life is kind of like empty. She doesn't really do anything. She is an artist, but none of her art really has taken off. Like, no one really buys any of her art, and basically they just live, and you know, they've been married for 15 years. They have a daughter named Tanny. Tanny is just a badass little kid, like nothing special about her. She's just bad. But when the story starts, let me tell you how the story starts. The story starts with like something happening between Annie and her mother. Something happened, an accident happened, and then we go to the current time. So we get something happened in the past, we get a little flashback of it, then we go to the present. Well, in the present, Annie's mother is dead, and Annie is not coping with it well. Annie has OCD. She keeps having visions of her mother. She keeps imagining that she's in a car crash. She's seeing things. There's just a lot going on with her mental health. Her daughter hates her. Her daughter really hates her and says really negative and horrible things about her. Her and her husband, you know, they're not as, you know, lovey-dovey as they used to be. She finds herself enjoying the attention of other men. So that's going on. And yeah, that's pretty much it. She constantly keeps getting flashbacks of her mother and her mother saying, you know what you did. So something happened when she was younger with her mother. We keep getting flashbacks of her and her mother growing up at different times. We get flashbacks of like her young with her mother, and we get flashbacks to her like taking care of her mother when her mother was sick. Her mother was a hoarder. Her mother was mean. But her mother constantly used to tell her things like, your husband, I need to protect you from your husband, stuff like that. But she kind of just brushed her off of her mom just being her mean self. That's pretty much it. That's that you see how none of that is a clear plot. There's no plot. This book is not like The Guest. You know, I was telling you in The Guest, like, you was just going through these people's lives. No, The Guest, we still knew there was a plot going on. You know, I could tell you players on the board. Nothing about this book is interesting. Let me break it down for you. Number one, the flashback scene. The flashback scene is just like, who cares? Like, who cares? Like, something exploded. I don't know what was going on. Who cares? So the flashback scene starts. You literally do not care. Then you go into the present day, and Annie and her husband are boring. The thing is, if you are going to give me a flashback scene and then go to the current day where we're just following these people's lives until something gets revealed, you have to make their lives interesting. And Annie and her husband are just simply not interesting. But the book wants you to believe that they're interesting. Like, they keep giving details about them to make them seem more interesting, and they're not. Like, for example, giving Annie OCD and stuff. That's not interesting. Like her like being disgusted by everything and constantly hating germs, like that's simply not interesting. The daughter being a freaking terrorist to everyone who she comes in contact with is just not interesting. Her kind of flirting with strangers is just not interesting. The friends are just not interesting. None of it is interesting. The flashbacks are not interesting. It's just, I don't know what this book wants to do. But the worst thing, the worst offense, and I'm going to leave it on this, the worst offense that this book commits is it does the thing I hate the most in thrillers. Where like, there's clearly a secret. There's clearly something that happened. It don't even have to be a secret. There's clearly something that happened. And just because the main character in the book just won't tell us, like, the main character can just tell us what happened between her and her mother. But for reasons, she's just not divulging. Like, and it's just like, it's cheap. Like, there's no reason for you to not be telling us what happened. The way to do it is actually like in The Guest, which is the first book I read, where like, yes, people were keeping secrets, but there was no reason for them to tell the secrets. There never was a moment where you were just like, just tell me what's going on. It wasn't that. Like everyone pretty much had all their cards on the board. The same thing with the professor. The professor was the exact same way. No one was really like holding in so much unless that was part of the story. Keeping the secret was part of the story. But like, it wasn't a matter of just like the way the author is choosing to write the book, where it's just like, nanny boo boo, I know something you don't know, and I'm gonna just string you along to the very end. And so that's what's happening in here. It's like, you don't realize you got too much dip on your chip. I don't care enough. Like, you're stringing me along because you think like you're just creating this entire world that I'm enjoying, but I'm not. I'm not. You don't understand. If this wasn't for SUMMERWEEN, I would DNF this. If I wasn't just in the vibe of SUMMERWEEN, I would DNF this book. Like, there's nothing interesting about this book. Anyways, I will finish my skincare routine and I will finish up this book and give it the 2 stars it deserves. And we'll talk later. Peace. Hello, you guys. I have officially finished You Know What You Did. I'm going to give this book 2 out of 5 stars. Like I said I would in the last clip. I do think the book got a little bit more interesting towards the middle. There was some moving pieces on the board, but as far as this really being a mystery, I don't see, or thriller, there was nothing thrilling or mysterious about it. There weren't enough players on the board, so either you were left to think that the main character was hallucinating everything, or you were left to believe the main character was doing it, or you were left to believe one other person was doing it. And the issue is, spoiler a little bit, I'll put spoiler, the person who's doing it is kind of obvious if it's not the main character, because this person is gone the entire book. This person mysteriously is gone the entire book. And so you're left to say either my main character is doing it or it's this character that's been gone the entire time. I didn't find any of the characters interesting. And then this book does what the worst thrillers do, where characters just start doing stuff to do stuff. Everybody's motive for doing any and everything is so weak. This character, this main character, gets accused of murdering someone off the weakest of things. Like, everything just starts crumbling in on our main character, which usually happens in thrillers, over just dumb stuff, like the police just coming up with the craziest of accusations and throwing it at her. Like, none of this stuff could stick. So it's like, why would any of this stuff matter? This did not work for me. This is not interesting. I do not recommend you pick this one up. Like, at best, it's a mediocre thriller. Like, it's just like, okay, I read it. I don't regret reading this. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, this is the worst thing in my life. But you will read this and realize quickly you don't care about anything that's going on in it. And so it's just like, what am I still doing here? So 2 out of 5 stars. I do believe this will probably be the worst thriller that we read in this video. Anyways, book of the month. Let me show you guys my latest book of the month. Book of the month has been having some great picks in the last few months. Like, I've wanted a book every single time. I think for the July picks, I even wanted a couple. But of course, I like only got one. But I wanted a few. So hopefully some of the ones that I wanted will be nominated for Book of the Year. And I can get one of them later. So first one is Margot's got money problems. This, I don't know, something about this. I was gonna buy this with my own money, and I told myself, wait a minute, let me see if Book of the Month is going to have this. Something about it felt Book of the Month-ish, and they did, and I was so happy. So this was my June pick for Book of the Month. I'll be reading that in October, and by the way, they changed up the Book of the Month bookmarks. The Book of the Month bookmarks are usually... Of course, this is the one, oh, there we go. They're usually like this. We got new Book of the Month bookmarks. That's exciting. Next, we have my July pick. Let's see. For my July pick, I purchased The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. I almost bought this book again. That's how I know I want to read this book. I went book shopping and almost purchased this book again. That is how I know I really want to read this book. I like how many pages it is. This feels like, I like the way this feels. I like the green and the pink. I just like it. So anyways, these are our 2 Book of the Month picks. I cannot wait to read these in probably, like I said, in October. But anyways, I will talk to you guys later. We got a flop, but let's hope the last book we read, No One Can Know, is a winner. Let's see how that goes. Okay, I'll talk to you guys later. Hello, you guys. It is a good morning. I am here to talk to you guys about No One Can Know by Kate Alice Marshall. I have made it to page 150. I made it to page 150 last night. And this one is a simple one. There's not a lot for me to have to explain. So in this book, we are following a main character named Emma. Emma finds out that she is pregnant on the same day that her husband gets laid off from his job, and so they were going to buy a house, but since neither of them have any type of employment that would help them pay for a mortgage, they decide that they are going to move into the old house of her parents, the house that she grew up in. This is a little bit weird because her parents were both shot dead in that home, and after that, she went into foster care. One of her other sisters went into foster care, and that was pretty much it. She and her sisters do not talk. We learned that from the very beginning. So she sends a text to her sisters and says, hey, me and Nathan are going to move into the house that our parents were killed in. Now, Emma doesn't actually want to move into it. It's Nathan who gives the idea. But Emma goes, you realize, everybody in this town thinks that I killed our parents. And so we get this long drawn out story that Emma was friends with a guy named Gabriel who was in the town, and they decided that they were dating. Gabriel was older than her, and they came together and killed the parents. But Emma says that is not true. That's just some stuff that people made up. So we get then chapters and now chapters in this. We get the then chapters of when the parents died, the now chapters of the current, and we get them with all the sisters, actually. So we meet Juliet. Juliet is the good sister. Juliet is the good sister. She did everything her parents wanted her to do. Juliet went to Nathan and Emma's wedding. That's really the last time she saw them. And Juliet has her own reasons for why she doesn't want Emma to move back to the town. So she actually comes to the town and goes to say hi to Emma and Nathan. Then we get Daphne. Daphne is the youngest sister. Daphne was the invisible sister. Daphne, her parents felt she was overweight. Daphne just didn't fit the aesthetic that her parents wanted her to fit. So she kind of made herself invisible. She was kind of the sister that just was there. And Daphne also has her own secrets. And also Daphne was the one who told the police officer that, Gabriel and Emma were arguing with her parents. They had motives, So that is kind of just our story. You want to know who I think did it? There's this guy named Chris who is the lawyer, and he's a family friend of theirs. I believe Chris and Daphne, the youngest sister, I believe they are either dating, they are friends, they are married, they are something. connected, and Chris killed the parents when they were younger. Chris is the lawyer. Like I told you, he was friends with the parents. And I believe Daphne came to him and said, like, such and such is happening. Chris had maybe his own reasons or something. He killed the parents. I believe it's Chris. This guy named Chris in the story. We will see. Another person who was sketchy is the husband, because obviously, like, mysterious job gone. You want to move to this neighborhood. You want to move back to this house. Why? He has a very short temper with Emma, even though they don't really argue. He's been doing just some weird things, but he could just be weird. He could just be weird. Person who definitely didn't do it, I don't believe Juliet did it, and I don't believe Emma did it. Now, here's the thing. I have to get in front of my own theory. Daphne's already being weird. We meet Daphne being weird, so it would kind of be obvious if Daphne is in on it. But, so Nathan might be the person, because I just don't, and then Daphne doesn't come up a lot. So, like, to hide Daphne and then be like, she did it, I don't know. But I do think that guy Chris is involved, and I think Daphne is involved. I'm gonna finish this book. Hello, you guys. I am ready to pretty much wrap this vlog up because I have finished the very last book we were supposed to read for this video, No One Can Know by Kate Alice Marshall. I'm going to go ahead and give this book 3.75 stars. There were some things that I guessed, some things that I didn't guess, but overall, I thought this was a really good mystery novel. There were some interesting characters. I thought it was told in an interesting way. I did not love it. It didn't use any of the thriller tropes that I really enjoy. I just had a perfectly fine time reading this book. You want to know, perfectly good time. It was a perfectly good time. I wasn't blown away by anything. I've never been blown away by Kate Alice Marshall's writing. I think Kate Alice Marshall is a very good author if you are kind of just dipping your toe into thrillers. If thrillers are not something you usually read, but you're trying to, like, you know, see if you like them, or you want to read one or two every year, that's what I think Kate Alice Marshall is good for. And it explains why a lot of her books, well, two of her books have been on Book of the Month, maybe more, but I know two have been on Book of the Month, because that's what she's good for, you know? If you read them, I gave What Lies in the Woods the same exact rating. Like, it's all just perfectly fine, you know? And there's nothing wrong with that. So I do not regret reading this. Now, of all of our books, I feel like you can tell my thriller taste by how I rated these books, and I'm going to show you. So my least favorite book is by K.T. Wynn. I think her last name is pronounced Wynn, but don't hold me to it. You know what you did. I do not like the thriller setup where something happened in our main character's childhood and she's not really sure what happened, and then we meet up with her in, like, the current time, and she's still dealing with what happened in her childhood, but not in a, like, figuring it out kind of way, more in a just, like, mental way. She hasn't really recovered mentally from it. Don't like it. I do not like that thriller setup. Another thing, I do not like mother-daughter relationships when it comes to thrillers. It just doesn't work for me. I find myself not really caring. I'm just like, okay. Another thing I do not like it when a main character believes that they're losing their mind. And so this had three of those things going on, and I did not like it. Now, things that I did enjoy about this book, I do enjoy husband and wife dynamics, really just partner dynamics in thrillers. I love it. It's one of my favorite things, like one of my favorite thriller setups. I love partners going through marriage issues. That's always up my alley. And so this book did offer that, but it couldn't make up for what it didn't offer. Then altogether, the writing in here is not good. This is not a good thriller setup. This is not the way a thriller should be, you know, paced. It's not paced well. It's not plotted well. And, like, the mysteries and what's going on are so obvious. And then the worst part, characters just be doing stuff. Characters are in this book just doing stuff. None of it makes sense why they're doing the stuff they doing. You just supposed to be like, okay. So this is going to have to get 2 out of 5 stars for me. The next book I would say, is No One Can Know. So this is the one I would give the most, like, you know, middle of the way, a little better than middle of the way. And that's because, okay, I do like, you remember when I said I don't like it when things happen in people's childhoods? I do not like that. But when you want to know what I do like, if you're going to use that setup, I don't want the main character to have been at the scene necessarily when it happened. Basically, I want the main character to be finding out things about what happened at the same time as the reader. Because a lot of times when something happens in a character's childhood, they are aware of information that they're just not telling the reader. And so you're being kept at arm's length for no reason. Like, why are you just not telling me what happened? Like, just, like, be serious. And it just seems like weak writing. But I do like it when something happened in a character's past and they're slowly figuring out things with us. And then another thing I enjoy when that thing is just the entire plot. Like, the entire plot is that. Unlike in You Know What You Did, there's all types of plots going on in here. So it's just like, this is silly. But in this one, what happened when they were kids is the entire plot. Like, there is nothing else going on except trying to figure this out. So I'm invested. Now, do I love it? Still no. I still don't love it. It's just not my favorite setup. But I do like it. I can enjoy it in this way. If we're just going to deal with what happened when you were a child the entire time, the main character and me, we're all going to figure things out. Another thing that worked for me in this, I like different POVs. I really enjoy different POVs in thrillers. This had 3 that I really enjoyed. Another thing that I like in thrillers, I enjoy being in a small town. I enjoy being in a small town. So this had some things that I enjoyed. Not my favorite thriller tropes, but it had some things I enjoyed. Some things I don't really enjoy, but it did it well. The thing I think that takes away from this thriller, there's not enough pieces on the board. I love a convoluted thriller. Yes, I do. I love just layers stacked on top of layers, stacked on top of layers, stacked on top of layers. If it's done well and written well. There's not enough characters on the board, and I do think you just can figure out what's going on or get close to figuring out what's going on in this story. And also because there's not enough characters, even if you don't figure it out, you kind of just don't care. Like, you're just like, okay, that's what happened. And I just think that's because there's not a lot of complexity. So 3.75. The next thing we have is The Guest. I am going to officially give The Guest 4 out of 5 stars. The reason why I enjoyed this book is domestic thrillers. I am the domestic thriller queens. When everybody turned their back on domestic thrillers, I stayed 10 toes down. I love domestic thrillers. I love grown adults living their grown-ass lives and having just secrets that they keep. Now, do not mistake that with secrets that they keep from the reader. There is a difference, and I don't have time to explain here, but there's a difference between withholding information from the reader just because and keeping a secret just to keep a secret. For example, this actually happened in No One Can Know. And No One Can Know, little spoiler, who cares? And No One Can Know, Kate Alice Marshall just didn't tell us that the husband was a cheater. Like, she just didn't tell us that. Like, it has nothing to do with the plot. That's information that you should give us. Like, it's a secret you're keeping from us just so we stay invested, just so we don't have all the information. That's withholding information from the reader. So, for example, not telling us you went to college, not telling us how you actually really know this person, like all of it, like keeping vital information from the reader just because you want to string us along. And then there's another thing that's keeping a secret. For example, if the story is told in first, like if the main character is telling us a story and they just don't tell you that they had a secret baby. You know, like that's just keeping a secret. That makes sense. In thrillers, people have secrets. So you can have secrets. I love when people have secrets. It's another thing to withhold information. Like for us to read this entire book and you tell us, hey, remember, to read an entire book and all of a sudden you say, hey, so 5 years ago, I got married. And so like I had a husband this entire time. Like what? Like why would you keep that from the reader? Like that's not a secret. That's just something you just kept from the reader just to keep from the reader, you know? And so there's a difference. So this one had a bunch of grown adults keeping secrets. We were in a small town. There were secret babies. This just had everything. Everyone was mysterious. I didn't know there was a lot of players on the board. Nothing seemed to really make sense into the end. It worked for me. The only reason why I'm taking off this isn't a 5-star, the ending. B.A. Paris really can never stick the landing on an ending for me, but I enjoyed this book. And then 5 out of 5 star, The Professor. I just logged this on Goodreads. This has a 3.46 on Goodreads, and that's how I know it's good. Because I am at the place where if people don't like stuff on Goodreads, I'm going to like it. And I've never been that person. I've never wanted to be a contrarian when it comes to reading. I like the stuff people like. But I knew I was barking up the right tree when other people didn't like this book, because I usually do not like the thrillers that a lot of people like. It's just not my thing. The Professor worked in every single way. My number one favorite thing in a thriller, besides it being domestic and having a married couple dealing with mess, is a detective. I love a detective in a thriller. I love a professional trying to solve a crime in a thriller. And that is what this had. We had the small town. We had people having secrets. We had people living together. So close proximity in a thriller. I love this. Had like so many elements that I enjoyed. It gave just enough information. It wasn't keeping secrets. It wasn't keeping any secrets. It laid everything out on the table and it just let you flow with the story. This completely worked for me in every single way. And so I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. So those would be my rankings. Now, I told you guys we were going to do some Halloween shopping. I did my Halloween shopping. I'll put a screenshot here. I went over on Pottery Barn and I purchased some stuff because Pottery Barn, I love Pottery Barn's holiday stuff. I love it. It is so like chic but still so fun. But if you wait too long to order it, you end up not being able to get it and it all sells out and you get like a really late shipping date and the holiday didn't already pass. So I wanted to get on that and purchase the things that I want to purchase. I purchased a couple pumpkin pillows. I purchased some mugs. Can't wait. And then I told you we were going to go book shopping. I also did that. I also did some book shopping. Everything is discounted. When I go to Books A Million, I do not buy full price books. I only buy discounted books. None of these books I actually came in there wanting, but I was happy with what I came away with. The first book we have is by Sarah Pekkanen. Sarah Pekkanen usually writes in a duo, but this is just by her. Sarah Pekkanen does usually write in a duo, right? Yeah, Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen usually write together, but this is one by just Sarah Pekkanen. It's called Going Tonight. I'll read any thriller. I'll read any thriller, honestly. And so I picked this one up. I like The Wife Between Us a lot. And so I'm excited to read this one. My man read The Golden Couple. We were on vacation and he read The Golden Couple. And he enjoyed that one. So like, hey, let's go for it. Another one is The Vicious Grace. This Vicious Grace. I wanted this book. I wanted this book when this book came out, and it's just one of those books that kind of just slipped my mind. I stopped caring about it, and so I was just like, I guess I'm never going to read that book. But then when I finally saw it on discount, I was just like, might as well read it. A lot of people I know like this book. I'm sure some people didn't like this book, but I said, if I was willing at one point to spend like full price on it, why not get it on discount? So I'll be reading that at some point. Now, do not think you are going to see me read any of these books anytime soon. I have a rule. If I buy something on discount, I can read it in 5 years. I can read it in 5 years, 4 years, or I might read it next week. I'm not hard on myself about buying discount books. It's the new releases, the books I be paying $20, $30 for that I need to be reading right away. The next thing is, this is so stupid. Why would I buy this? You ever get like post shopping spree clarity and you're just like, I'm so stupid. I picked up a Lisa Jewell book. You guys know none of this is true is going in my worst books of the year list. And why would I pick up another Lisa Jewell? Invisible Girl? I don't know. But I did, and I guess I'm going to read it. I guess I'm going to read it and see what it's about. It's not hard to convince me to buy a thriller, because it's just like, somebody got to. A book I've literally never heard of from an author I literally never heard of is Sophie Hannah, The Couple at the Table. Love it. This is already a setup that Kenya enjoys. I already told you guys in my breakdown, I love thrillers about a couple. I love it. I love it. It's my favorite thriller trope. So anyways, those are the books that I bought. So Summerween is complete. Thank you guys so much for spending a week with me, and I will see you guys next week. Peace.